ML Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest today. We finally have her on ML Nation. We have the one and only Maria Meriano. Hey, Maria, are you ready to make it happen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Preparation is everything. When people say I was born ready, I said, did you prepare? Did you prepare?
Maria Meriano was born in Italy and then migrated to Canada. She's a seven-figure earner and leads a team of over 50,000 members. In her career, she and her team have sold over, check this out, $1 billion worth of products. Not only that, Maria is also very active in women's empowerment. She does inspiring seminars and been honored at the International Women's Day and also spoke at Harvard University's Women's Entrepreneurship Day. Maria is a wife, mother to 3 loving children, and lives in Montreal, Canada. So Maria, welcome to ML Nation. I'll give everyone a brief intro, but share about your background. How did you get involved in direct selling?
My mom started in 1970. Someone was doing door-to-door friend finding, which I think for multi-level marketing businesses, it's still something that needs to be done today, honestly. And in 1981, she was promoted business leader with my dad, because back then you needed to be a couple to be promoted as a business leader. And then she got me started in this business in 83. So I was 18 when I began.
1983. So seeing your parents be very successful, did you ever want to do something else as a girl, or you want to follow? Because a lot of people want to rebel, do something different, or you just felt that, hey, that's the lifestyle you wanted.
You know what? I started with life insurance back in the days. Life insurance, they don't exist anymore. Was the London Life, and I followed all their training. And I remember my trainer back then. He says to me, "You've got everything required to be an entrepreneur, and you're in." Because you see, back then the life insurance business, you got an advance on your paycheck. It was commission based, but they gave you an advance. And that was the deciding factor. So what happened here is I was destined to sell life insurance. I would have been as successful, Simon. That's the one thing, I always say the way you do anything is the way you do everything. But because somebody followed up in this other business, right? Because they did their homework, that was the deciding factor that I didn't go for the life insurance and I went and worked with them. So I always say, follow up, follow through is king in multi-level marketing business. It shows we care. It shows we care. And to me, it showed they care, So yeah. So I lean forward to where I am today.
So just to clarify, your parents are not with the company that you are in with today. They were with a different company, life insurance.
Same. No.
Oh,
same company. Yeah.
Okay.
Same company. But when I began with life insurance.
I see. Okay.
Yes. So after over a year's training with life insurance, I ended up going in the same company as my parents because the upper management had gotten in contact with me personally, not my mom, upper management. And that showed me that they cared. That showed me I felt important. And after all that training with the life insurance, I ended up going into exactly what my mom and dad were doing.
That's a great point. You talk about caring. A lot of times people are hesitant to follow up because they feel like they're bothering people, right? But in your sense, you're talking about they care. They cared about you.
Yes. There's an expression Stephen Covey says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I try to teach my people, remember that following up and following through, you're showing that you care. Get it out of your head that you're bothering people. Following up and following through means you care. Hey, I sent you a message. You didn't get back to me. I'm a little bit worried. Is everything okay? People send messages and there's no follow up and follow through. There's no caring.
Yes. So once you got time out here, there's still like a little noise in the background. Is that your cat? If it is a cat, it's okay.
I got no time out.
Yeah. It's your cat.
My dog. One of my dogs is snoring.
Okay. Hey, by the way, don't edit this out. We're going to keep that in there. We're just being real. And even you could be a Maria Meriano and she is not perfect. I was like, what's that murmuring? Hey, by the way, for those who are listening on here, uh, before we hopped on, she said she has like what, 8 animals, right? How, 8 animals she brings into her studio, and
Four at the
4 animals,
studio.
4 in the
They're all
studio.
rescues. They're all
Yeah, that's so
rescues.
cool. And she moved the cat before we started recording, and I heard another. Like, wait, there's 4. And she removed one of them. There's 3 of them. Have a 3 out of 4 chance we heard that noise. So that was your dog.
That was my pug. Yeah, poor thing. He wants to breathe my air.
Was he snoring? What was he doing?
Yeah, snoring. Yeah, they have a hard time.
We have done over 800 something episodes, and this is the first episode ever you put a leader, put a dog to sleep on the show. All right.
I love it.
That's all good. Hey, I think that's, what? It's being real, right? We talk about social media a lot of times, like being real. People feel they have to be perfect. It's just being the real. And these are the small things that people, I'm sure you just gained a lot of followers just because you're an animal lover, a dog lover. You rescue animals.
Oh, I tell you, Simon, I'm everywhere.
That's awesome. Hey, anyway, so let's get back before your pug fell asleep on us. Was your story? So 18 years old, and did you have success right away? Did you even go to university, or just went right to work?
Yeah, I went right to work. I didn't go to university. And, the funny thing is, I'm married to Mohammed for the last 38 years, and he has a PhD, right, in civil engineering and a master's in mathematics. And just go figure, right? And he sells with me in the same business. We're both in the same multi-level marketing business. We've been doing it together since '89. So I started in '83 with Mohammed since 1989. No, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, and it's the thing we don't talk enough about. Everybody shares the success stories, and what I try to remind my team, because we are number one in our field, and it's a far number one, like versus number two. There's a huge difference. Like we can only sell in Canada, and between number one and number two, there's three times of a difference. Okay, so I'll give you some numbers here to go with. Okay, so we just had 1,200 new recruits in 30 days, right? Number two has 200 recruits. Just to put it in comparison, like my team is just blowing it out of the water. Like they're just simply amazing. And that's what we're able to talk about all the time. Oh, we did this, we qualified for them, but we don't talk about how we got here, you see? And that's something that I teach my team to do, to talk in the end format. Okay. So yes, I started and blah, 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 but then all this happened. I call it the downwards of the end. Okay. So I knocked on doors every day. I gave myself a mandate to do 2 hours of door to door, zero success, zero success. When people say to me, after 2 years of 2 hours of door to door, Monday through Sunday. Like I'm a hard worker, Simon. That's something we don't talk enough about. We want to make people believe they're going to make a lot of money by I see sometimes people saying, the money's going to come in by the mailbox. I don't believe in that. I make a lot of money and I work a lot. I always say I make the most money, but I also put in the most hours. Like seriously, I mean, it's something that I'm very loud about that. So it was very, very difficult. I made no money in my first 2 years. And thank God I was living at home. I'm Italian, right? So nobody moves out of home unless you get married. So I didn't have any rent to pay. I didn't have any bills to pay. I lived at home. I ate for free. But I worked 7 days a week. And I started early in the morning. Mornings were all about door to door, winter, summer, spring. I'm from Montreal, Canada. So, you have your winters with minus 10, minus 20 degrees, minus 30 degrees, and that unwavering schedule every day. So people say to me, yeah, but door to door didn't work for you. So why should I do it? It's called honing your skills. You see, when I did door to door, I came in contact with all the possible adversities that I could be faced with. Things like it's too expensive, your product is too expensive, I don't believe in your product. Or we date parties, right? Home parties back then. I don't have time for the home party, and I was able to establish after 2 years, did I ever date a party door to door? Yeah, I did, but they ended up canceling. So I can't even say that I held a party. Did you ever recruit somebody door to door? Yes, I did, but they gave nothing because I'll get back to that later. But what it did do, it honed my skills, my ability to talk, my ability to ask the right question, my abilities to look at somebody in the eyes and listen to them, my ability to know when this is not the right cat. Sometimes we just harass, the wrong people. So in these 2 years, and maybe even more than 2 years, this is what the door-to-door allowed me to do. So in the eyes of everybody, it gave no results. But in reality, it was creating my roots in multi-level marketing, like a bamboo. I was creating my roots. I was becoming very, very, very solid entrepreneur. That's what it did. So I ended up establishing the 10 biggest objections people would have to being recruited in our business, the 10 top objections people would have to not want to date a party. And I was able to establish, what do you answer when somebody says to you, the product is too expensive? What do you answer when somebody says to you, I don't have time for this business? So I was able not only to hone my own skills, but to realize that once you mastered the 10 top objections of recruiting and the 10 top objections of sales, and we created these scripts, the rest was easy. So if I fell on somebody that was motivated, I always say, Simon, I can't motivate you. You need to be motivated. You need to want it in life. You need to want it bad enough. So if I have a very unapologetic recruit, ambitious recruit, I will have the systems and the tools to share with you for you to be successful. So I can inspire you, but because you are motivated. So this is what it allowed. So on the surface, people would say, oh, those 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years, what did it give? Well, this is what it gave. It gave me the roots I needed. The roots I needed to be solid. Yeah. And then from there, I took off.
And those roots, the mental toughness, that's way, way more valuable than any money you could have made.
Yes.
Right? You got to make whatever money. That's way more. I'm Italian. I work in a French community. My French wasn't too good back then. You face a lot of things, like not just no to selling your product or no to recruiting, but sometimes people repelled you, like racism, like all kinds of stuff. And it just made me so strong. I mean, so resilient, so determined. My desire of success just grew more and more, and I became more and more disciplined with an unwavering schedule. So, you become unstoppable. Those skills make you unstoppable. And we don't talk enough about that. Everybody's on the surface. Everybody, it's easy, you're going to say. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. If it was easy, everybody would be successful. Yeah. And you know what? If it was easy, then there'd be no money at the top. Right? I always say, hey, take government benefits, welfare. That's easy, but doesn't pay very well.
My mom, how she put it once, Simon? She says, we have welfare system here in Canada. She says, if you want a lot of privileges, then you're going to make very little money. And if you want little privileges, then you're going to make a lot of money.
That's so true.
The higher up you are, the less privileges you have.
Yes. And it's related to that, you want to pay a lot of taxes. Because you pay a lot of taxes, that means you're making a lot of money. If you don't want to pay taxes, that means you're making no money.
Simon, hang on. There's another dog here making noise. So just give me a second. I'm going to put her down. Say hello to Simon here.
What's up?
This is the other one. So you got the black one, you got the white one. Okay. When I began and I start understanding money and how the taxation system worked, I said to my husband, Mohammed, the day will come where we will be paying in the 7 digits of income taxes. Then we know we are almost making it. Did you get it?
Yes. Um, so were your parents pretty successful back then already when you were doing the 2 years of knocking door to door? Were your
Yes, they were now number one in all of Canada. Yes.
so
And then you see,
did
yes.
they ever feel like what's wrong with my daughter? How come she doesn't get it? Or did you ever feel like did you ever get resistance or like they're looking like what's come on, Maria, let's go?
Absolutely. I think my mother thought I was going to start, and the very first month I was going to be number one.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, Simon, I think that's what she thought. And you know what, Simon? So did I. I remember going to the very first Jubilee, and it was only 3 months I was in the business. And for some reason, my ego said, oh, they're going to call me on stage and recognize me. Nobody called me on stage. Nobody recognized me. I always keep saying now to parents, stop telling your kids they're special. They're not special. They're going to have to work to be special. Stop telling them they're special. They're not. But my mother, for some reason, she expected me just to, and that was hard. That was hard. That was hard. But that's another story in itself.
So what was the turning point that you struggled for 2 years knocking on doors? What was the aha moment, a light bulb moment, or turning point where you started to have success?
You know what? It's a compound effect. Everybody asks me that question, Simon. Everybody asks me that question. And I said, there's no turning point. It's the compound effect of 2 years, almost 3 years of 7 days a week, 8 to 10 hours of work a day. So what's the turning point? Well, you take an axe and you hit the tree. Look, going to Redwoods, okay? You hit that massive tree. And you're going to ask me, at what moment was the turning point? At what moment did it fall? Well, it started falling with the first. And everybody's waiting for the aha moment. Everybody's waiting for the call. There's no call. You just keep going and going. And it unfolds. And then there's what we call a tipping point. So once, you're like a bamboo, you're really, 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 really grounded. Now you start sprouting up success, right? And I think it grows 90 inches in the next 6 months or something like that. And people look at that and they look at you and they say, oh, she's got it. Oh, he's got it. It's natural in them. No, it's not natural. What you're seeing here is the compound effect of all these months and weeks and, even years of pow, and taking the time to sharpen the axe and going back. And the tree will fall. You will be successful. Have no doubt. Have an unwavering faith. You will be successful. If you don't give up on yourself, you will be successful.
Yeah, I love the way you said. The turning point is actually when you take the first swing of that axe, it starts happening. Right, it's a great way to look at it. You just don't see it. It's like the bamboo. I think it's 90 feet in like 30 days, something like that. Right. It takes 4 years. It doesn't do anything. All of a sudden, it grows 90 feet, 30 meters in like 30 days. But it's growing on the ground. You just don't see it.
Exactly.
What was your worst moment? This is my favorite question. What is your worst moment in this profession? But you never quit, and that's why you're the leader you are today.
I'm very, how would I answer this? I have no worst moments. Okay. Because I'm very good at staying within my circle of influence, Simon. So, okay, let me put it this way, because I know people want to see examples. When COVID hit, we're a home party based business. Okay. And people say, well, that was one of the worst moments. My philosophy, it was a challenging moment. It wasn't worse. It challenged me to develop new ways of doing the same thing. So I wouldn't so much call it the worst moment, but challenges. COVID was a challenge. When we went online, that was a challenge because I lost all my old people that when I, not necessarily in age, but old people that were used to manually processing, like every big change, right? Those are turning points. And every big change, I lost a lot of people. But we had to lose them to grow to the next level, right? But hard moments in my life was losing my mentor, my mom, when she passed away at age 51. I'm 60, so it gives you an idea. She passed away very young. Another hard moment for me in my career was when my husband was diagnosed with some type of blood cancer, and he needed to have a bone marrow transplant. And my children were age 2, 4, and 6. That was hard. Those were hard moments. Issue with our children. My children now are 28, 30, 32. A lot of parents, just something really, really that was hard that I had to deal with. Those are the hard moments. And what helped me to deal with that is I became very, very, very strong because of, the way I worked my business from the bottom up. But also I learned to work in blocks in cells. Let me explain this way. So I always share this with my company, right? If the Titanic had hit the iceberg today, it would not have sank. It would not have sank. And people say, why? Because the way the boats, the ships are built today, they're built in compartments at the bottom, right? So only that one compartment would have filled up with water and the Titanic would not have sank. I work like the bottom of a ship. My life is subdivided into compartments. So when my ship hits that iceberg, my mom, stage 4 cancer, I know she's passing away, very hard for me. Well, that was a compartment. I didn't sink. And a lot of people sink when they hit difficult times, right? Personally, instead of keeping it in a compartment. And one of the things I say to a lot of people, when you're in the storm, do not talk about your problems. It's only once you're out of it, you use it to inspire other people. So my ability over the years, having trained, having personally developed, because the question is always, who do you have to become, Simon, to achieve your next level of success? Who do you have to become? At a certain point, you're going to stagnate and you're going to feel you're always, sliding back and forth, but you're not growing. Well, it's because it's time you grow. It's time you grow. You've stopped growing. It requires to be humble to do that. It requires to be able to accept you don't know everything. It requires for you to go back to school, in the books. I bought your book, Simon. I'm not one to say, well, I'm so successful. Why am I buying Simon's book? Of course I'm buying Simon's book. Simon has something to teach me. So if you're able to stay humble and understand that everybody has something to teach you, you're able to overcome any hard moment in your life. So my 3 hardest moments was the death of my mom when I was only, she never saw Yasmin, my youngest daughter. So I was only 29. My husband's bone marrow transplant, he was hospitalized for 6 months. And I really thought we were losing him. Okay. The difficult moment with our children, it was really, really hard. But being able to compartmentalize those events, and say to myself, when I'm with my family, I'm divorced from my business. When I'm in my business, I'm divorced from my family, helped me to stay resilient, to keep going. And what really, really helps for me is my unwavering schedule. Like, I don't have to ask myself, what am I doing tomorrow? I know, because it's an unwavering schedule. There's no guesswork.
That is so good. Very inspiring. Thank you. I love the Titanic, the ship. I've never heard that before. That's really good. And you see
Can you
yourself
see it?
not talking about the problem too, because the more you talk about it, then the more it gets worse. And you track, first of all, the law of attraction, but you just put you in a negative mindset and you stay in that compartment. You don't go to the other compartment.
Last night I went to a funeral. Connie, She was our live-in for many, many years. She passed away at the young age of 50. And there's something I want to share about Connie. Connie got diagnosed with cancer at age 40, but you would never have known. You know, she kept, even me working in my home, I didn't know. She slept at home, I didn't know. Until one day, I realized she was losing her hair. And I said, Connie, what's up? You know, you're losing weight. And then she silently said in my ear, I got cancer, you know. And oh my God, it really came and get me because my mom passed away to that. But Connie taught me a lot. Connie taught me, again, she reinforced, you don't talk about your problems. She never talked about it. So last night I was at her funeral and the priest gives the mass and he says, I want to tell you, Connie prepared for this moment. She went to the other side in peace and she made amends. And he says, I'll tell you why, the priest says she was able to do that. Because she kept her shoes of peace and she didn't talk about what she was living with anybody but the Lord. And she took time to make amends. And the priest says, and I can tell you, she is with our heavenly Lord today because she prepared for this moment. And it really touched me, Simon, because sometimes I think about people, like I'll give you an example. Somebody walks in my office the other day and they're all hyper and loud. Oh my gosh, I almost had an accident. I almost had an accident. I mean, what is that? I almost had an accident. And then they go into details of I was here and I'm watching all the energy exerted for I almost had an accident. There's no energy left to work and be successful.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think of Connie yesterday, what the priest said. And I said, quiet, be quiet, quiet your mind. So you keep your energy where it matters. So my energy is for my Lord. I need to quiet my mind if I want to be able to pray every day. That's one of my priorities. I need to be quiet. If I need to listen, am I happy? Am I, you know, inside of my heart, what's happening? I need to quiet my mind. If I want to appreciate my husband, I need to quiet my mind. If I want to appreciate my family, and I need to quiet my mind to appreciate what I'm doing and where I'm working, and that there's no difficulties. It's just a process.
I love that. I think we're going to title this show Quiet the Mind because I think nowadays it's harder and harder, right? You have social media, everything nonstop bombardment. It's hard to quiet. How have you seen the industry change in the last 40 years? And what gets you excited about it?
For me, the industry hasn't changed. It's still a people business. It's a relationship business. People have to get to know you. Then they have to get to like you, and then they have to get to trust you. It will never change. It changes the way my product gets into your hands, but that's just a system.
Yeah.
But business hasn't changed. We're a relationship business.
So true.
We're still a relation. Nothing's changed. So as long as you develop your people skills, you will always be successful. You know, I have people, Simon, in my business that think that success is in mastering social media. And they're the ones that aren't recruiting. They're the ones that aren't growing. They don't get it. It's not social media that makes you successful. It's my ability to speak here with you and build a relationship. This is what we're doing this afternoon.
Right.
You understand, Simon?
I get it. I think
that's
people do social media. They think, well, I just do this one thing, I'll be successful. But the social media is just to potentially, let's talk about the purpose of social media is to potentially create a conversation. And then it goes back to the people skills.
Yeah, you have to build relationships with your people. Now, I do it today through Zooms. I do it through personal things. But I mean, the business hasn't changed. You don't care how much I know, Simon, until you'll know how much I care about you. That hasn't changed, and it's never going to change. It's never going to change.
Yeah, it's so true, because like this is the first time we've talked, but I've known about you, I've seen your lives, and talk about like relationship is getting to know the person, right? I felt like I know you just from your live videos because I see your energy, the way you are, right? When I spoke at your team event, the way you introduce people, right? The way you are. I think people who go to social media, they think they got to do this and do that. No, just let people know who you are. Like
Yeah.
about your 4 dogs, your 4 animals, right?
Somebody said to me in one of my messages this week, and it just hurts my heart that they're so talented. I'm following social media experts, and I know that at a certain moment, no, nothing. There's no social media expert. There's you. There's you. People have to get to know you. People have to get to like you, and people have to get to trust you.
Yeah.
And then remember, Simon, there's 25% of the people that are going to love you. There's going to be 25% of the people that will always hate you. No matter what you do, they're going to hate you. And then you got to work on the 50% of the people that are on the fence. So the more they see you, in Italian, we say, close to the eyes, close to the heart. So be out there, go knocking on doors, go put a table with your products in a fair somewhere, go do a live. Like you said, Simon, I'm so happy you said we're not going to edit, my Benji, my pug. It shouldn't be edited because this is real life. This is real life. I do I cook on Saturday mornings at a certain, because I have 4 cats, right? All rescues at home. And you see them walking all over the place. And here I go with my water bottle. I mean, they got to get to know you, like you, trust you. And they can only do that if they see the real you.
Yes. You're super consistent, obviously. How do you stay consistent with all the stuff going on?
Unwavering schedule. Unwavering schedule. I do the same. I've been putting in 8 to 12 hours a day for the last 41 years, Simon. Like I get up on Monday morning. Now, forget my personal workout, I call it. Brain gym, I call it, okay? Where I get up at 5, feed my cats, get one of my cats. One of my cats is crazy, so it comes with me to the office, feed my dogs. They also come with me. Like I've got this routine, if you want, or more, I call it systems. I'm going to talk about, because it's really a system I have. The same way where you get out of bed, the first thing I do is when I open my eyes, I say, amen, I'm alive. Okay. The second thing I do is I say, thank you, Lord. I got one more day to make a difference, right? I'm full of gratitude. And the third thing I do is yell out in my heart, if my husband is still sleeping, I'm excited, right? It's a system. It's a system. It's a system. It's an unwavering system. So what's changed over the years is I always get up at 5. But what I do from there, that's changed because my responsibilities have changed. So when I decided to start a podcast, and I don't do a podcast because I want a podcast. I needed to be accountable to personal growth. I know personal growth is everything. So when people want to go from here to here, I ask them, who do you have to become to go from here to here? You don't say to your boss, I think I deserve 100K a year. You have to ask yourself, who do I have to become so my boss is willing to pay me 100K a year? And it's a big fallacy. We don't teach it enough, right? I teach my kids this. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you a break. Nobody owes you anything. You always have to ask, this is what I tell my kids, who do you have to become to achieve your next level? Okay, period. So I know I got to grow personally. Give you an example. So now what I decided to do, I said, how can I be accountable? So I started with, I call it a fake podcast for 2 years to make sure I surrounded myself with disciplined people. Okay. Be careful of the people you surround yourself with. They've got to be disciplined. So I have Jean-Philippe Jacques, I have Sylvain Lalonde, I have Sabrina, I have Marie-Pierre, I have Melanie Miller. And finally, I put together, after 2 years, a team that I know would be able to never throw in the towel Monday to Friday, right? That's rule number 1. Surround yourself with the right people. So I always get up at 5 a.m. in the morning. That's never changed. But now, after this system, I get to the office Now I used to come to the office at 8. Now I show up at the office at 6, you see? And I read and I write my podcast, my part that I have to do. And then I deliver it in English and in French. So now I put in a system. You see, Simon, a system, a routine, call it whatever you want, that makes me accountable. So for the last 4 years, religiously, I've been reading material on personal growth. Not only have I been reading it, I have to write it out. And I have to deliver it not once, but twice in French and in English. So what do you think happened to me as a leader?
You grew tremendously, exponentially.
Why? Because when I took the decision of the vision, we were going to be number one in the world. Okay. I didn't say, well, wait a second, Simon. How do you want me to be number one in the world? We only work in French Canada. How do you want me to be number one in the world in my field when I only have, 4 million households I can sell to? See, that's the brain trying to tell you it doesn't make sense. You can't be number one in the world when you're competing against the US that has 400 million people, when you're competing against India that has 1 billion people. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
The question I said to myself, who do I have to become to be number one in the world? Well, I had to be a better leader. How did I do that, Simon? The podcasts. Okay. Did I do the podcast because I want to talk to you about a podcast? No. I did the podcast. I was accountable to myself. I have no choice, Monday to Friday, to develop myself as a leader. 2 years later, Simon, we were now officially not number one in North America, but number one in the world with over $54 million of sales. A little tiny company, multi-level company that can only sell in Canada, 35 million inhabitants, and can only sell in French in the Quebec section. Ha ha. Okay. So once that part of your brain is clear, who do I have to become? You become unstoppable. I love being responsible. I love being responsible because that means I can do anything I want.
Hey, congrats on your success. And I think one of the things, a big takeaway is you learn and grow the most by teaching what you learned, right? Having people account. So you're learning it, but most people just read a book or whatever and then they put it down. But you actually wrote it out. And then, so that's one time you're kind of teaching it yourself. And then you did in English and then in French, so 3 times. And it's like magically when you regurgitate, repeat what you learn, and teach it, it goes, you become that. You become that leader, like you said. It's really very inspiring.
Now, when you become, I want to close off with this. When you become a greater leader, now you have greater leaders around you. Because when you're a great leader, you can only attract people with higher levels of leadership skills. You understand me? Because there's the law of the lid, as Maxwell would say, right? I mean, I can't attract somebody here if my leadership is here. So in conclusion, by raising my lid, my leadership, I have an incredible team today I'm working with that all I have to do for them is provide the system in which they can function with much ease, and the rest they handle themselves. Like, I have an incredible team. We just broke all kinds of records in the last 30 days. And, like right now, business is very tough for us in multi-level marketing in the business I'm in. And you know what? Nothing showed in our company. And I know people say, why? Because of the quality of directors that I have, the quality of leaders that I have. Now, why do I have those quality leaders? Because as I became a better leader, I attracted different types of people. Follow me?
Yeah. And you're also not talking about the problem, not focusing on the problems, declining. It's been tougher. You focus on your vision instead of the negatives. Awesome. Hey, we got to wrap up as we go towards the end. Some really quick questions to pick your brain, and these can be one word or one sentence. Okay. So the first one is, what is one of your favorite success quotes that motivates you?
Who do you have to become to achieve your next level?
What's one habit that's helped you become successful?
Unwavering schedule.
What's the best piece of advice that you ever received?
Separate from the people that are not going where you're going.
What's your favorite prospecting tool? So you have a qualified prospect. Do you get on the phone with them? Do you meet with them? Do you give them samples?
Personalized message. I teach my people 25 personalized with your voice messages per day. So they know you're not AI.
Yes, that's a good one. What's your favorite app on your phone that's not a social media app?
Messenger.
Oh, that's kind of like a social media app.
Is it?
It's because it's related. Messenger is related to social media, right?
I'm all about Messenger and text.
Text. Good.
Text. Okay, text.
What are 2 or 3 books you could recommend to ML Nation?
Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mandino, the best salesman in the world, and do it in 10 months. One scroll at the time, 3 times a day. Definitely. And Jack Cansfield, the success principles of Jack Cansfield.
And here's the last question, the $1 million question. You ready? Imagine you had to start all over again and you knew no one. You didn't know your family, didn't know your husband, didn't know your leaders. Your contact list was 0. But you had all your current knowledge, skills, and wisdom. What's the first thing you do or the first place you go to build a network marketing business from scratch?
All the knowledge I have today, I would start my own brand. I would go, all the knowledge and skills I have today, right? Say it. Yeah. That's what the question. Okay. All the knowledge and skills I have today, if I had to restart again, I would build my own brand that absolutely fits every single value that I have in my life. And I would sell it to the world.
So you'd be selling to the world means like you show up on social media and just giving value. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
And then people naturally will come to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, it's been amazing. We went long, Maria, but I can talk to you forever. As we wrap up, any last words or advice? And then what's the best way our listeners can connect with you?
My advice to everybody out there, I just spoke to my son yesterday. He decided to go in entrepreneurship. He had a job where he was earning over $200K a year. And I always said to him, I love the salary they're giving you, but just remember, son, they're paying you that because they want you to forget about your dreams. Okay, a salary is what we give you to forget about your dreams. So finally, he had the courage to, jump the fence and go on the side of entrepreneurship. I really believe about entrepreneurship because, human beings were born merchants. Look at Jesus Christ. He was a merchant. This is what we're supposed to do. Anyways, okay. I tell him this: learn to be likable. Learn to be likable. Stop talking, get interested in other people, and become likable.
That's awesome. And what's the best way our listeners and viewers can follow you and connect with you, Maria?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm out there.
Hey, ML Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today you've been hanging out with a legend, Maria Meriano. So keep up the momentum. Head over to mlnation.com, click on the podcast tab at the top, and go to the show notes, and all the nuggets of wisdom that Maria shared, including the links to her profiles, are there. Definitely go follow her and connect with her. Hey, in order to be successful in life and business and in network marketing, you must help others. So Maria, thanks again for sharing your valuable time with ML Nation. We're grateful to you, and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. Thank you so much again, and God bless you.
Bless you.